Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Vibing with Sleazy, the podcast. This is season 4, episode 12, and I have a very special guest today. I want to thank everybody for listening and tuning into season 4. It's been a great time, and it's been a huge success so far. My guest is actually a recommendation from Riley. Riley's just given me great recommendations, and Riley was also a guest. I want to go ahead and actually shout out Riley's shop. So it's What Makes You Smile Gallery and Gifts. And the thing about that shop is it's a special place. Art, they have consignment. He's actually right now at Bonnaroo, so I hope he's having a good time. And I'll be seeing him next week. But his store is doing great. So definitely stop in 2005 Bonnie Castle Avenue and show Riley some love. And I can't thank him enough for all the amazing guests. So, my special guest is none other than Whitney Yadon. So, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Doing good. So, thank you for being on the show. The way I found out about you was I was in Riley's shop. Riley, like I said, was recently on the podcast and had mentioned you and had shown me some of your art and showed me your business card. And I was like, I definitely got to reach out. And then when I started digging through your Instagram, I try to research and dig through before I have somebody on. And I hadn't met you before. I found all your art super cool, super creative. I really liked it. I find the thing that you make super cool is felt. Like you use felt a lot. So I messaged you and I was like, we got to talk felt. So for the people listening, let's just start off by what is felt.
So I do what is called needle felting.
Okay.
And basically what needle felting is, it's this very weird craft where you take wool and you take these barbed needles that are especially made for needle felting and you stab the wool a bunch. And
Okay.
as you stab the wool will mat down. And as it mats down, you're able to shape it. So
Okay.
then you're using the needle essentially to sculpt the wool into different shapes. And through that, you can create sculptures and things.
Oh, that's super cool. So, what's some of your favorite things to make out of using the felt?
Oh man. I mostly really like making animals. I make these little possums a lot. They're probably my number one thing that I make often and I sell the most. And they're just like a few inches big. They're just like little small possums with no feet or anything. And they're really fun to make. And I make a lot of those. I just recently started making owls.
Yes, I noticed that. So, I actually want to bring that up. Your June 7th Instagram post that you posted of the owls, it's incredible. I'm looking through your Instagram while we're recording, and it was like that's the one that I definitely wanted to bring up. They're incredible. Your owls are awesome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah,
Yeah.
I really like doing like medium-sized sculptures, but I like doing the smaller ones where people can A, I don't have to charge a lot. B, they don't take as much time because needle felting is really time consuming. And it's nice to be able to have just like a small thing people can put up on like their shelf or on their desk or whatever. And I'd been toying with owls a little bit back and forth here and there. And I finally figured out a design that I liked. And so I
Yeah.
thought it'd be fun to make a bunch for the buy local fair that I just did this past weekend.
That's
So
awesome. Now, that by local fair, was that through Liba or was that who was that through?
it is, yes, it's through LIBA, the Louisville Independent Business Association.
Yeah,
So
keep Louisville weird. Yes. So I was actually I worked for Leo Weekly for about 6 years, and I worked with Leba,
okay.
was a member there, and shout out to Jennifer Rubenstein that runs that. So they Leva's awesome. So that's really cool that you were able to get your art out there, and that's what I like too about your art is that you make so many different things besides just felt. You also do painting and do different things like that. But before we get on to that, I want to ask you a few more questions about some of the nature stuff you do with like owls, possums. pretty much a lot of animals. Would you say, do you study like pictures of them? Do you actually try to catch them in the wild, or like to like draw them, or like what do you say is like your technique with that?
Typically what I'll do is I'll look at a bunch of reference photos. So I'll typically search for photos of whatever creature I'm looking to create. And I like to get a couple different versions of the photos for different postures and stuff like that. Because especially for felting, it's important to kind of see the shapes in the anatomy and the structure. And so I kind of like to get a few different reference photos, and I usually just work off of that.
Okay. And so would you say, with the possums, have you feel like you've learned more about possums doing this, and like owls, like do you just find it more of just like the visual? Like do you find yourself researching about these and learning about these animals? I'm just curious.
Yeah, you do learn more about them for sure, because I like to get into internet rabbit holes and things like that. And so as I like search, I do learn about them. And then the other fun aspect of learning about them is people that come up to my booth will often talk to me about whatever animals I have or whatever stuff I have. And so it's really fun to hear what other people's experience or information is that they have about whatever it is and sharing it with me. And I learn a lot that way too.
Yeah, and I feel like you're able to connect with everybody on that level as well, where you're like, yeah, you love animals. I got these possums here. So yeah, that's super cool. And I think too, it's like a lot of people don't show possums enough love. I mean, they're North America's only marsupial, and they're really, to be honest, they get such a bad track record, but they're actually harmless to us really, and they're just trying to kill rodents and pests and just keep it going out there for us. So I love possums, and I'm a big Louisville Zoo guy. I like going out there supporting them, and I went to the Meta Zoo recently, which is never really open. And when I went in there, they had a possum inside the Meta Zoo, and I was like,
Oh,
"This is
awesome.
super cool." And he was like super cute, just chilling, and like it was a really cool thing. So, would you say with felt? I was going to ask you this. It's like it seems like that would be a fabric that is pretty easy to cut and manipulate and like use in different ways. So you feel like you are constantly learning different ways of using it?
Oh yeah. So I'm self-taught,
Mm-hmm.
and I basically discovered needle felting just browsing around in on YouTube pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
And I basically just learned from watching YouTube channels, and so I've kind of had to kind of learn as I go. And so as I work through doing different things, I kind of learn more, and I also learn by doing things. So because there's several like different kinds of felt you can use. There's different felting needles you can use and processes and things like that. And so I've been doing it now for, I guess like 9-ish months,
Mm-hmm.
something like that. A little less than a year. And so, and I do it a lot, and I've learned quite a lot from different techniques and what wool works best for what and how to manipulate it and create different things. And yeah, it's been great.
Do you feel like it's something that also has just been a lot of fun for you, like where it's like you look forward to it? It's like I can't wait to get off work, or the jury duty you're dealing with. Like right now, it's like I just want to go, make some owls or get fun. Like I mean, is that how you view it?
Oh yeah. I really like doing the felting because for a couple reasons. There's just like something satisfying about stabbing wool. I don't know, that sounds like morbid, but there's just something like physically like satisfying about the feeling of it, and making like a 3D object is really cool because I've mostly worked in 2D art with drawing and painting. And so I've always wanted to try sculpting, and I tried working with clay, and me and clay just don't get along, and I'm not very good at sewing. And so with the needle felting, it's like really cool to finally find a three-dimensional art that
Yeah.
actually jives with me. And so it's very cool, and it's so fun to like make a three-dimensional thing. And like when I start working on one, I just like I want to do it all the way through. I hate when I have to like stop and start.
Yeah.
Especially with like bigger projects. I've done like larger possums and a few like larger things, and those take so long that you have to take breaks. But I'm
Mm.
always like, no, I want to work through it.
Yeah. No, because it's like you got to be you feel probably so motivated. You're like, okay, I'm so close to getting this done. And when you're making those larger possums and the larger animals, are you also using a lot of stuffing to make these things like, I guess, the kind of solid?
Yeah, so what you do is they have what they call core wool.
Okay.
And so core wool is like the most basic wool you can get. And it just comes in like a neutral color. It's pretty easy to felt together quickly. So you typically will use that to start out with.
Mhm.
Or you can use what they call polyfill, which is just like generic stuffing that a lot of people use for plushies and stuffed animals. You
Yeah.
can felt that together too.
Okay.
The core wool is really like the best because you can get something much denser quicker
Mhm.
using that wool. So I like to use that a lot. And then a lot of times I'll use armatures.
Okay.
So I'll do like I've used like floral wire or just like a small gauge wire to build a structure. And then sometimes I'll use like my random end bits and stuff like that to create a center, and then I'll wrap it up with the core wool and felt that together.
Okay, that's really cool. And I was going
Yeah.
to ask you, do you have a recommendation for listeners that maybe want to get into this from the standpoint of two questions, kind of like number one, what's a good place to kind of start self-teaching yourself, maybe online? And then number two, what are some stores that you recommend that you shop for to, I guess, get into the felt game?
Yeah. So probably the number one felter that I checked out first is this lady called Felt by Philippa.
Okay.
She has a YouTube channel. She's from somewhere in England. I'm not 100% sure where, but she does beautiful work. She does a lot of like she does Highland cows, sheeps, and horses are her sort of main thing that she
Island
does.
cows are the ones with hair, right? The hairy ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. They're
Yeah.
really cool. I feel like they're like more tend to be over in the UK.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, they got like the long shaggy hair.
Mm,
So those are really fun to do because it's really fun to like make something that has hair or like some sort of not like haircut, but wool bits that you can kind of like leave out and give it more texture. That's always really fun.
oh, I bet. I mean, and I'm thinking too, it's like there's gotta be a lot, like I'm thinking about the felt and I'm thinking about the material and then I'm thinking about different animals and like picture them. So and I haven't got to check every animal you've done, but I was gonna ask, my favorite animal in the world is a camel. Have you done camels? I feel like that would be a good felt one to make.
Yeah, I have not done camels. No, but I'll
Thought about like
do
that.
it.
Just think that this is the reason I brought up camels. If you like even a one hump or two hump camel, if it's standing, you know how it's kind of got like the thicker hair at the top, or it's kind of like different, or like matted kind of. It's like
Yeah.
that would be like you could use darker felt and then like the lighter felt. I don't know, it'd be something cool. So yeah, because I don't know why, but camels just since I've been a kid, like it's always been my favorite animal. So yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, lions be too. That lion be kind of a cool felt animal to make.
Yeah, a lion would be cool as well. Yeah, the I've only really done more like smaller animals, because I did the large possums and I did a large jackalope. And with my jackalope, he had long fur. I made him have long fur as well.
Okay.
Since he's kind of a mythical creature.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then like a camel and a lion, they're four-legged animals that are always on their like four legs. So in like thinking about making a felt out of it, it's just a little more challenging because you got to make sure that the legs will all stand up and hold everything. And
Oh, I
so
didn't think about that. Yeah.
yeah, so you got to think about, like, I think of it in like several different parts. So you'd have to do like the head separately, and then the middle part, and then two front legs and two back legs would be together, is how I
Okay.
would organize it, I guess you would say. And then I would do those separately and felt them together.
Gotcha. Okay.
So
Cool.
yeah,
And
legs can be really hard because it can be hard to get them dense enough, because you always have to start out with less and build up, because it's easier to build up than to take away. So you got to think about the structure of the leg and making sure that it's sturdy enough. So
yeah, no, I didn't even think about that. And also too, it's like it's got to be. I'm picturing too the animals being, yeah, they are like on all fours all the time. So yeah, it would definitely be difficult. Would you say with the smaller animals, do you feel like are snakes something that people like have wanted or you've made? Like I didn't know that, just being a like just kind of a flat body. I didn't know.
I haven't made any snakes, and nobody has requested any snakes. But a snake would be something that would be very fun to
Yeah,
do.
that would
Yeah.
be cool. I can see like a little felt tongue and like the colors, and yeah, that'd be really cool. So I like to ask artists a lot of times, like, what's some of your favorite colors to use? What for you personally?
I really like cool colors, so I really love blues and purples and greens.
Okay.
Those are my favorite colors to use, and I especially love greens with because I'm really into the whole nature vibe,
Yeah.
and I use a lot of neutral colors with like animals and stuff like that. So I really love being able to incorporate green, and I really like whenever I do any sort of like people, I typically lean towards giving them bluish, purplish, greenish sort of attire.
Okay. Yeah. I'm looking through some of your pics too, and it's like the other thing I love about that you do for nature, and that I noticed at Riley's was like the mushrooms. You make really cool mushrooms, and like the
Thank you.
colors and the stuff that you use. I think that's really cool. And I mean everything you do is on it's a very unique level. And I love too with the mushrooms, it's like you put even little, what would you call it, little pores, or the little spots, like those are super cool too. It's just very
Yeah.
good detail.
Yeah, I don't know what you call them, the little like nodules or
Yeah,
whatnot.
I was just thinking about that. It's like, are they pores? Are they I don't know what you would call those. It's like, but they're all mushrooms. Like I mean, they're definitely there. And then the one picture I wanted to bring up to you that I thought that you did that was super cool. You put in a lot of like you said, mythical kind of creatures, but it was the cryptid island, and I
Oh
thought
yeah.
that was one I wanted to talk to you about. So I thought that was super cool because it's like this house on this rock in like the middle of the water, like chilling, very relaxing scenes, got like some nature, and then out of nowhere, it's like you got like two mythical people like fishing, and then it's just like a ghost over here chilling, like a bat creature in the sky. Like, I mean, it's just really cool because it's kind of like if you were on a boat, like floating down through, around by that water, you'd be looking up like, what is going on that rock? And you know what's crazy? I just clicked on that picture just to like enhance it on Instagram, and guess what the most recent comment from somebody was? MetaZoo.
What?
MetaZoo.
Oh
Talk
yeah.
about it because the possum. So it's just crazy how shit's all connected. So that's wild. But yeah,
That's
but this
very
picture is really
funny.
cool.
Yeah, I do a lot of cryptid art. Are you familiar with the term
No,
cryptid?
explain it to me. So that's why I probably sound very novice on it.
No, you're fine. So cryptids are basically creatures in the wild that people have quote unquote seen, or they think they have seen, but they're not scientifically proven.
Okay.
So the one that most people know is Bigfoot or Sasquatch. He's kind of the number one sort of like poster child for cryptids, but
Okay.
there's a whole bunch of them. And like every state has their own and other countries have their own. And
What are
so
we well known for? What's our cryptid?
we have two. We
Okay.
have the Pope Lick monster.
Goat man,
It's
sheep man, right?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
people call him Goat Man. And so we have him, and then we also have the Hopkinsville goblins.
Okay, wait. All right. I know that we have just met like virtually, and um, you don't know a lot about me, vice versa. But one thing that I've done on this show is talk a lot about like paranormal, and I've had a lot of paranormal experiences. I'm into ghosts on it, and I like respect it. Like I love that kind of stuff. So I'm big into like urban legends, haunted stories, like stuff just like this. So I have to say I have never heard of that story. So I'm gonna kind of put you on spot. Can you tell it?
Yeah, I like know it. I like know the Cliff Notes version essentially.
Okay, this is
Um,
crazy.
so the Hopkinsville goblins, they're basically like little green men, alien-esque. They don't look like your typical gray alien though. They typically are like 4 foot tall, supposedly green in color, with large yellow eyes, and they usually have like pointed green ears.
Mhm.
They usually have arms and legs as well, but they came down, I think it was either the 40s or the 50s. I'm not 100% sure the time frame. And they invaded a farmhouse in Hopkinsville, Kentucky. And I don't believe anybody was hurt during the invasion, but I think that the goblins attacked some of the cows. And the family was obviously like terrified, and there were a few other sightings in the town when it occurred, but yeah, they dubbed them the Hopkinsville Goblin. Some people also call them the Kelly Green aliens because they have the greenish color. And Hopkinsville, Kentucky did used to have a festival every year for the goblins, but I think since COVID happened, they like stopped doing it, and I don't know if they've started it back up or not. But
This is pretty wild. Yeah, because I mean, I'll be honest, it's like, people forget about us over here in old Kentucky, but it's like we do got some crazy stuff that's happened in this state for sure. And there's a lot of
yeah,
crazy stories and urban legends. Like I actually did a couple episodes here recently, a two-parter on Chat GPT, that little AI type technology thing, and I was playing around with that, and I actually started asking it questions about give me haunted stories about J Town, like where I live, and like other things locally. And I mean, I was learning about stuff I had no idea that was happening, just kind of close by. But there is a lot of crazy, like just thinking about there's a lot of crazy urban legends. There really is. So, what would you say is your favorite one? I mean, not from Kentucky, like just in general, cryptid.
so I have a lot of favorites. I would say my number one favorite is a cryptid called the Fresno Nightcrawler.
Okay.
So the Fresno Nightcrawler, he is the one that looks like the ghost that you mentioned, because so he was first spotted in Fresno, California on this security footage. And if you look up the security footage on YouTube or wherever, It's basically like a recording of a recording of a recording. So it's your typical, very blurry, very staticky video of CCTV footage. But it basically looks like this giant pair of white pants that is walking across this lawn.
Oh shit.
And it's very hard to make out like what it is. And then there was another sighting or a video capture of two of them in Yellowstone National Park.
Yeah.
And it shows a large one and a small one walking between these two trees. And
Oh,
so, yeah, those are the two main videos that get circulated around. I've seen a couple other ones that aren't as well circulated, and like you can't see as much in them, but those are always my favorite. I don't know why. I just think they're so interesting and weird, and I always like to do two of them. I usually will do a pair of two of them in my paintings or when I felt them. And a lot of people in the cryptid community call them the walking pants.
okay. I mean, I was gonna ask that. That's what I was gonna ask. Like, do you think it's real? Do you think those walking pants is a real thing? Like, are any of these cryptids you're like, hey, I actually think that's a real thing?
Well, it's kind of hard to say. Yes and no. I'm a hopeful skeptic, I guess I'll say, because I don't necessarily know that there are sentient pants walking around,
Yeah, girl. I
but
mean, saying that out loud, wow. Yeah.
I think that's a very cool idea. But yeah, I definitely think that there are strange, odd things in the world that we can't explain and that we rarely encounter, and maybe we only encounter like once or twice and we never see it again. And so I definitely think there are probably unidentified creatures in the world that do exist for sure. Who they are or what they are, I'm not sure.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm open to it though.
I am too. Like, I'm the reason I'm so open to it is like many reasons. Like, I had a bunch of experience. I feel like with the goat man, sheep man aspect, living in J Town, like being born and raised here, and you hear about it, and like you go under there, the trestles, and it's like spooky. But the thing about the trestle is wild. It's like all the stories you hear about it, and I guess since we shared about the goblins, we'll share about this one real quick. Like pretty much it's a train bridge, and the Popelik monsters like a there's Circle K and Hatmaker is kind of a little country little area on the way to Fisherville and or Spencer County, and basically they say if like you see the train, it's bad luck, and that a sheep man or a goat man actually jumped off a circus train back in the day and roams that area, and like people have had dates and Boy Scout have camped there, and like people got missing or had rocks thrown at them, and they say if you get on the tracks, like you feel like it's being chasing you, and you feel like you're almost like pushed or forced off. Like I've heard so many stories revolving it, and if you actually go up there in the wooded area, I've explored a lot of the wooded area in J-Town. I've never gone that route. I'm good on that. But I've gone under the trestles and like chilled there with friends, like to try to spook myself out, but didn't see anything. But they say supposedly there's like at one time there was like a smaller cabin up there that was kind of off the tracks. That this is what I've just read on like from people and heard. It's like pretty much the little cabin that was off the tracks like had I guess stuff where somebody was sleeping and chilling, and you know to this day it's like you don't really know if it is a goat man sleeping there or shit. I mean you just you I don't know, and I kind of believe it. Like they say circus trains went through towns and people trying to escape and shit like that. It's wild.
Yeah. Yeah, you never know, man. There's actually going to be the first Goatman Festival in October 13th and 14th, over
That's
in
amazing.
Popelik. Yeah. I think that the guy that's running it, he just announced it announced it. I think it's in conjunction with Louisville Halloween. I'm not 100% sure, but I definitely am going to be vending at that. And I think that I think his website is the Legends of Pope Lick, and he started doing like he has a lot of land out there, so he's been doing he has a couple escape rooms, and he's been doing like movies on the weekends and stuff. So
Okay.
yeah, I think for the Goatman Festival, what they're planning to do is have some movies and then have some vendors and food, and yeah, it should be a fun time.
That will be fun. That's actually a couple days after my birthday. I think I'm gonna have to come out there and check that out.
Yeah.
I just growing up on that, it's a cool urban legend, especially just I love all that kind of stuff. And that whole little area, like for people listening that have never been there, or I guess kind of hard to describe, but like that hat makers kind of that area, it just has a spooky vibe. I mean, it just in general. I mean, and then you just look up at the tracks and you're like, wow. So, do you find that there's any art that you want to you told me that you had tried clay and didn't like it, and then you've done felt and done painting. Is there anything else that you're wanting to explore or try?
Oh man, that's such a good question. I want to explore and try everything, which is a blessing and a curse. I have trouble sticking to like one thing. Whenever I see a new art or craft, I'm always interested in giving it a try and seeing what I can do.
Mhm.
Um so I always want to do new things. I um So I'm not sure. I don't know exactly, but I do want to figure out how to do web design because I'd like to create a website for my stuff. Um,
Oh, okay.
because right now I just have an Etsy and an Instagram and a Facebook, but I don't have my own like website yet. So I would like to learn how to do that. Um,
Connect you with so I actually during this I take a break between each season, and I made a vibing with sleazy.com, and my buddy AJ Thomas, he actually designed it, kind of did the whole layout. And I actually shout out to AJ. I need to reach out to him to get to figure out kind of how I want to do after season 4 is done and some edits and stuff. But he's somebody I can hopefully maybe off air get you connected with at some point, because he could definitely, at least help you get a start, or give you some, help you build one. So his he did really good with it. And I feel like too, besides learning graphic design, something I want to eventually do is like the coding. I feel like coding would be something cool to learn.
yeah.
And do you feel like with graphic design, would you want to start doing kind of maybe graphic design art too, besides just wanting to build your website? Do you feel like there's a market for that?
Oh yeah. I definitely am very interested in graphic design. And I think that the thing about graphic design that is so interesting is just how like flexible it is.
Yeah.
Because since you can make something digitally, you're able to use it in so many ways that you just can't do with more like physical art. And I think that's like very cool and just like a very interesting thing. My only thing with digital art, and I think people that do digital art are just like so impressive to me because I have such a hard time I work a 9 to 5, and during my 9 to 5 I'm on the computer all day.
Mhm.
And so whenever I've tried to do any sort of art on the computer, it just like doesn't vibe with me at all. I can't figure out, there's like I have a huge disconnect between like my hand and my brain and the screen.
Yeah.
It for some reason I can't figure it out or get it to work for me. So I'm always like so impressed with my friends that do digital art. I'm like, how did you do that on a computer? Like that sounds dumb, I guess, but I'm just always like, I can barely like open my email.
Oh yeah, I mean it's incredible what people can do with technology. I mean, I took one graphic design class. I actually went to art school. I went to college, but I got my degree in audio production. And the uh, the thing that like you had to take, I think the rule was like you had to take two classes that were not part of audio, and it was like, and I took one that was graphic design, and I think one was like I don't know, public speaking or something like that. But the graphic design class, it was fun, and I'm not no designer, still not to this day, but I think what we ended up doing, we had to make a duck, and that was like our final project. But when you say that out loud, people are like, a duck, oh, that sounds easy. A duck's easy, a breeze. No, it was like you had to, give it the feathers and the different colors and the head shape and the beak. And it turned out to be a challenge. I ended up making it and doing it, but it was a lot of fun. But yeah, after that, my respect for graphic artists it just blew up. I mean, and then two, what I love about graphic artists is kind of just, I feel like album artwork covers are like so iconic, and it's kind of cool how there's a lot of graphic designers that have made some really cool albums.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And the evolution of it. I mean, it's
Yeah.
going on for years, but it's like, I don't even think, I mean, I wasn't alive, but I don't feel like 70s, 80s, they were sitting there talking about graphic design. Or I feel like now, once more computers started happening, it was kind of like, and then now it's just taken off. Would you say that besides the place in October, do you have a big plan this year to start marketing your stuff besides selling online? Is there a lot of other events you want to do? I mean, are you trying to do once a month? What's your goal?
Ideally I'd like to do events about once a month. I don't have anything planned in July and August at the moment. August is really hard for me because that's when my work is my like regular 9 to 5 is pretty busy, so it's really hard for me to get off work
Yeah.
to do events that are like full weekends and stuff. And then July is hard because nobody wants to be outside in Kentucky in July.
It's
And
hot. It's hot.
yeah. So people try to organize events a lot of times in July outside, and that usually doesn't work. So, but I do have a lot of stuff coming up in September and October and November that I'm excited about. And the fall season is always, I mean, I really like the spring season because it's really fun after winter getting back out there
Mhm.
and getting to talk to people and share my art. But the fall season is always like my favorite because yeah, I love spooky stuff and I love all of the fall vibes are really nice, and it's really fun to be able to, because it's really funny sometimes in the spring. I had a couple people at one of the flea markets I was at. They were like, you've got a lot of Halloween stuff.
Yeah.
I was like, I guess, yeah, I do lean a little spooky, I suppose.
Like,
So
that's my vibe. That's my vibe there. So it's like, yeah. No, I
yeah,
like it. I think it's cool. I mean, I think it's awesome because I think you definitely reach a really big audience with that. And tons of people love Halloween and spooky stuff. And what's also cool is, like, I know, shout out to them. There's a girl, she actually been on my podcast before, Shelby. She's running a candle company, very small company, but little spooky candles or whatever. And so a lot of her candles were more paranormal, like bat wings, and kind of had that kind of aspect. So,
yeah.
so those kind of ideas, I feel like always do great. And shit, Halloween stores are always fun to go to, and I just love, yeah, I just love Halloween in general. I'm actually really looking forward to it this year. I'm going to Florida for Halloween with a couple from college and a few other friends, and we're gonna go down there. Well, we were all thinking of like an idea of like how to dress up. Well, I've always wanted to be Ronald McDonald, so I'm gonna be Ronald McDonald. My buddy's gonna be Hamburglar, and there's gonna be the other McDonald's characters, and we're gonna get a guy dressed like Grimace, and basically go to the Navarre McDonald's and get a bunch of burgers and go out that night and like give them out. And I'm gonna hit up McDonald's like a couple months before and try to do like a photo shoot. So I got this whole all planned out. Like, it's gonna be
That's
cool.
so funny.
Yeah. So, but because we were just all sitting around, we're like, what would be a great concept idea? And it's just something I've always wanted to do. And I feel like that would be a lot of fun. So, and Halloween is just it's just a blast. Like if you don't enjoy Halloween, I just feel like there's something wrong because it's just it's such a laid back fun holiday, and who doesn't, I mean, candy and the vibes and the and so I wanted to ask you as well, do you find um when you're doing spooky art, do you find yourself, I'm trying to feel the way to say it, it's like, do you want to make scarier stuff? Like you make your stuff and you're like, ooh, I can make that scarier. Like,
That's a really good question. Because I sometimes will get people that will want to like commission me for scarier things, which I'm always down to do, and I do really like to do that kind of stuff. Um, but as far as for the general public, I usually do a lot of like flea off markets and things like that, and most of those people don't want scary things.
oh,
And
okay.
then I do also a lot of events. I do have children at them, and so I don't want to freak out any children or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I tend to lean more towards spooky cute.
Okay. Cool. Cool. I
But
like that.
I really enjoy really like creepy, scarier art that people do. And I always want to do more of that, but I just really like haven't. I think that especially in illustration styles, I think very spooky, creepy things in like black and white illustration styles is one of my favorites. I absolutely love that.
Mm.
So I would like to do more of that. I just haven't quite incorporated it yet.
Yeah, no, that's super cool. And what artists, do you have any artists that, I know you mentioned the one artist that people could check out to kind of learn a little bit more about like felt and stuff, but what are some artists that you're motivated by or you kind of look up to?
Oh man, what a great question. There are so many. Well, my good friend Holly, she does cryptid art as well, and she does a lot of digital art, and she's been a real great motivator and just like friend, and she's been so helpful for me in the art community in general. So I really admire her and look up to her. She's just always like her art is really great and unique, and she does a great job, and she's also just like so professional and friendly and great in like all the aspects. And then there's a lot of artists that I follow on Instagram that I really like. I can't think of names off the top of my head.
Oh yeah, no, you're fine. I do the same thing. I go blank.
um but as far as like other visual artists, I mean, I would say Salvador Dali has probably always been one of my number one inspirations.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably the one that got me into art in general. Because his art was the first time I was like, oh, art can be weird and that's okay. It doesn't have to be all cute ladies lounging around looking, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
uh so he's always been a big inspiration for me. There is a Polish artist that I really like, whose name I would never be able to pronounce. Um it's oh my goodness, I'm not gonna I'll send you how you say it, but he's considered the nightmare artist.
Okay.
And he does a he's no longer with us. He has passed away, but he does a lot of very cool, very scary, surreal sort of like metal album cover art is what
Okay,
it looks
cool.
like. Yeah, he's a Polish artist and his art is so interesting. Um yeah, and inspiring, and I really love it. And then yeah, I also really like the like Goya. is another inspiration. I like his art style. And then Caravaggio is another one that I really like because he does a lot of heavy contrast in his paintings. So I really love paintings with heavy contrast, and I guess I don't incorporate that a lot, but I do think about that a lot whenever I am doing a painting. Yeah, and then I follow them on Instagram, and I just recently met them at an event, but there's another felt artist that I really like named Wild Sage Felts,
Okay.
and he does cryptid felts as well, and he does a lot of like animals also, and he did a really cool possum wizard and frog wizard, and they're just phenomenal.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah. So I got to meet him at an event I did recently, and I got to like see all his stuff up close and personal, which was nice. Yeah, so
And I feel like when you're meeting artists that make similar things to you, you're not only, you're motivated by them, but you're also too like you're probably getting ideas as well, like, oh, I'm gonna give that a shot, So that's really cool. That's really cool. But I want to thank you so much for being my guest. You've been wonderful. I want to thank you again for taking the time to being on and sharing your art story and kind of your art journey. And I'd love to have you on again next season. I plan on having season 5 in about the beginning of next year. So it'd be great to get an update and see how all your fall events went and how the event went for the Public, which I'm hoping I'll meet you there and see you there. I wanted you also to know that I feel like you have a huge future in this. I mean, you're killing it. You're doing great. And what you're posting online, you're clearly creating multiple things and besides just felt and like I said with the painting and the ideas and you taught me all about this cryptid. I mean that's so cool. So thank you for that. I mean I'm always learning too, so I think it's incredible. Tell everybody how they can reach out to you and also how to buy art from you.
yeah, so the best way to see my art and get a hold of me would be on my Instagram, which is just Whitney_Yadon_art. And my last name, you spell it Yadon.
Mhm.
So my Instagram is my number one spot. I try to post on there Monday through Friday, and then you can always message me on there. The other place would be my Etsy store, which again, it would just be Whitney Yadon Art is the name of my Etsy shop. And I just posted on there some original paintings that I have, as well as prints and some t-shirts and things. So I have not been great at updating it in the past, but I'm trying to be better about that now. Especially now that I've had it for a little bit, I've kind of got it a little more figured out and I have a flow with it. So that's a really good place. And then you can always, I always post on my Instagram when I'm at a market or wherever I'm going to be vending at. So you can always come see me in person, of course. That's probably the best way to buy my stuff because I love talking to people who are interested in my art, not just buying it, but just chatting about it is a lot of fun. And I really love meeting people and learning from them. So
No, that's incredible. That's incredible. And like I said, you've been a joy to be on here, and it's a pleasure meeting you. Hopefully, like I said, I look forward to meeting you down the road in person. And I can't thank you enough for taking the time to do this. I know we had a few scheduling up and downs, but we made it happen. But yes, everybody reach out, show some love, support, and just support local art in general. Stop by Riley's shop. Message her, get some art from her, and also just look into felt. If you haven't learned about some, I mean, felt is something definitely cool to check out. And I think just art in general. I mean, if you haven't looked at some art recently, check it out. VibingWithSleazy.com is the website, VibingWithSleazy@gmail.com. Reach out, show love. Vibing with Sleazy, the podcast, Facebook, Instagram. definitely got a few more episodes coming. Season 4's got 21, so we're almost there, about 9 more left, but I'm going to keep pumping them out here this summer, and I want to thank everybody for downloading, listening, and support. But we are out. Peace.